I suppose it was that. I thought that it's not often you get a pull towards a story that you think probably does need to be told. It sounds rather grand a lot of the time. I've certainly done lots of films where they just didn't need to be told. And it was that, really. It was everything that was behind it. How little I really knew about this piece of history. Certainly wasn't taught about it in school. And I thought it was very, very much missing from the whole sort of World War II film canon. We do have Bridge on the River Kwai, which is not considered a valid testimony, really, I think, I think it's a great film. But people who were on that railway don't consider it represents anything of their experience. And so there's not a lot out there. And I hadn't read Eric's book, I'd heard about it. But it made me want to do that. And I thought, I think however difficult this is to tackle, I think if my profession's ever worthwhile, it's probably worth having a go at this.
And Frank Cottrell-Boyce and Andy Patton, who wrote the screenplay, talked about the challenges of writing for someone who can't or won't communicate. And I just wondered about your approach to that aspect of Eric, especially with Patty, played by Nicole Kidman, and his friend Finlay, played by Stellan Skarsgård.
Well, that sort of thing's tough, but as an actor, I'm always quite interested in difficulties in communicating. And I think good writers are interested in difficulties of communicating. I think, it's the best scripts are the ones which aren't on the nose. They don't explicitly join the dots and say everything that people feel. That's not how people are anyway. And whether you went through something as immense as that or not, I think the things about which we feel most passionate or most angry or whatever intense emotion we have are often the hardest to articulate. So in some ways, I think it's in a storyteller's job description never to take a facile or linear approach to any of that. This, though, was, the stakes were raised by the fact that I did consider the story so important, and it was a real person that I was playing, and that person was still alive and available to be spoken to. And of course, that creates an immense pressure and a sense of responsibility to do it as honestly and courageously as you can. But it also gives you an awful lot of help.
How much contact did you have with Eric, and
So
how much help did it give you, and what ways did it give you help?
A lot. Immeasurable. I read a lot as well, but nothing came close to the value of speaking to him, because it wasn't just information I got. It was a personality and somebody that I could interpret in ways that aren't just apparent in the written word. I could see his attitude to what he was saying. I could see the way he dealt with what he was saying. He talked about, these aren't conversations you have with people every day. You don't have a conversation every day about the extremities of torture, about the duration of torture, about the things you have to do, about the people who died in front of you. And you don't have a conversation every day with someone who tells you about his intention to murder somebody or to kill somebody over lunch. The conversation being over lunch. And he was completely matter-of-fact about it. Those were all things that, if you're about to tell someone's story, are very, very important to have built in when you go forward. It was the same for Jeremy, who was there as well, and it connected me with him too. So that,
and you've got the same agent, I believe, haven't you, as Jeremy?
Yes.
And he mentioned that you actually recommended him for the role. Is that right?
That is true.
Yeah. Well, why did you think he would, be up to it? It's he's fantastic in the film, but it's quite a role, isn't it, to take on?
I knew they were looking for a young Eric. I met him. I actually met him at my house. Somebody came. The group of people came around one evening, and he came as someone's guest. And afterwards, I don't know why it popped into my head, but I said to my wife, "Do you think he could play a young me?" And she said, "Don't flatter yourself." That's probably precisely why I thought of him. But no, I just thought you know, I heard how good he was, and for some reason, it just occurred to me I could see him in the role.
So you obviously got to speak to Eric and meet with him. You also filmed on the Death Railway. I've been there myself, and it's a very moving experience just to be there as a visitor. But how was it for you being there and telling this story?
Well, it was very moving, overwhelming. I think for all of us. The thing is, as I was saying about meeting Eric, you've got all this you've got all this reality to deal with. You've got the fact that it's true. You've got the fact that you've got information. You've got the fact that there are people who will tell you and share with you. So there's a lot to go on, but at the same time, that leads to a sense of feeling out of your depth. You know, when I first saw one of those railway cuttings, I just thought a sense of inadequacy to the task. It just overwhelmed me. And I thought, you know what, it's just a film. Don't try to own this whole thing. You can't possibly grasp it. You just have to try to be as honest with your bit of it as you can. There was a very moving thing happened on the first day, was that a group of Buddhist monks came down to bless the people making the film. And a group of us sat and listened to them singing for quite some time, and that was an experience that reinforced us, but also created some connection. I think, of having sort of had something like that together. It was there really was a sense that, you know, we might be making just a film, but also there's much more to this experience for us than just making a film.
And how would you describe the tone? There's some humour, especially towards the beginning of the film, and it's ultimately quite uplifting. Obviously, at times it's suitably very harrowing.
Well, I think the tone shifts according to the tone adjusts as our way in. You know, Patty meets a man on a train, and this is as it happened. You know, she met a man who seemed delightfully eccentric. You know, somebody who's really rather unusual and who made her laugh, and then finds herself married to a man who has this hugely tormented side to him, and who directed some of that some of his demons at her, and it started to, you know, create problems in the marriage which were overwhelming for her. And so, you know, her life changed tone from the day she met that man, and he would come back, and then she would feel that she'd lost him again. But it was clear that you know, he'd been presenting a particular face to the world, and there's a line in the film saying, "We're miming in the choir." You know, he's apparently normal, but not living fully, because there's just too much in your makeup and too much of what you're about that you can't share.